Most of my life has just been being lucky. That's how I met you.
I'm keeping that. There's no way I'm not keeping that. You want to start the video now?
No, I thought that was reasonable. As soon as I said it, I was like, this is going to be a good start. Cool. Anyways, so this apparently is... Well, let's do this one. Hello, I'm Sure, and welcome to Quackalope. Apparently this is going to be a video where we talk about 5... Am I not sure?
Hey, I'm Alex. This is Board Game Co. This is on Quackalope.
Is this why people say we're a mess?
It is why people say. We're going to be telling you 5 reasons not to play a game that... I mean, this is not the original box. I'm sorry to say.
Well, we're going to cover that. We're going to talk about that. This is definitely not the original box. This is going to be my 2 inserts for basically all the Marvel Champions content released so far. I'll throw a link to the inserts down below.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I'll throw a link.
I mean, genuinely, if you are going to play this game...
Yeah.
Let's start with our first reason.
So, speaking of which, so first of all, let's give them an overview. Marvel Champions. Marvel Champions is going to be an LCG game, a game that is a limited collectible game. I think LCG.
A living card.
Living card game. Wow, I just lost all cred. Living card.
It's not limited at all. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. It's a living card game. It's an alternative to the CCG system. The collectible card game, that's the one.
Which would be Magic and Pokemon, whereas a living card game is going to come out with booster boxes and upgrade packs, but all the cards are always going to be the same in every system that you buy. Meaning the modules, while varied and they come out every month or so, will always give you exactly what everyone else gets, so you have the same consistent experience.
Yes. And this is one where you're basically playing as a cooperative experience, where you are playing as various superheroes to take down various villains in scenarios. Scenarios you can craft and develop to make it suit whatever your playstyle is, the heroes you prefer, the difficulty level you want, things like that, the complexity, and who knows how what. You're going to have your life mods, you're going to go through different ranges of villains, taking them out.
And there's some modular mini campaigns that you can play through as well, but for the most part, this will be a combined one-shot where you're sitting down, picking one main, mayhem, or one main... What's the tactics that they're trying to go through? Their plan.
The scheme.
One main scheme that you're trying to stop, and you're choosing a collection of different heroes, building your deck or crafting your deck, and then seeing how you pair up against whatever that threat was.
Yes. And I love it. I love it a lot. But...
That's not the point of this video.
But... we're about to tell you the reasons why this is not a
5
game for
reasons not to play Marvel Champions with Alex from Board Game Co.
Yeah, number 1, that guy cannot handle losing at all.
No, and he'll AP the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the first time we played together, I think you held my hand physically and figuratively in the game.
You didn't know how to play. I had to tell you exactly what to do.
For at least 25 minutes. I don't think I made one cognitive decision.
Yeah. But if you want to know 5 reasons why you shouldn't play Marvel Champions with anyone, as opposed to just with me, then we have a bunch. But let's start with where we were going at the beginning, which is these inserts and the amount of content here. I think this is a relevant point.
Not just the inserts, but the amount of cards available in this game. At this point, if you're diving in... Now, if you started, 2 years ago when this game was first hitting the marketplace, and you were buying the base box, and then every month or so you were getting one module at a time, just $20 here or there, but... At this point, you can't really just start with the base box.
Not even at this point. Whether you're someone who's jumping in now, or whether whoever, this is a living card game, and it's a successful living card game. It's one that is looking like it's going to have. I think the living card game that has the most content is Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings card game,
which was a previous system compared to this, and it retired with something like my friend that owns it all has a Kingdom Death size box of content, and it probably, it costs thousands.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to head in the same direction, because it's Marvel. Marvel is still popular. Marvel will continue to be popular. This is likely going to be the largest living card game we ever see from Fantasy Flight. I would argue that it may well be the reason Fantasy Flight continues to exist as a company, just for this game. Just for this game alone, it's worth it. And that means that, whether new or old to the system, you are inherently signing up for either not having everything for the game, which is a sad and hurtful
You'd never do that. You'd never do that.
Why would you do that? Yeah. Or 2, having way too much content and never playing the game.
A pocket price of hundreds now, combined with, well, imagine it this way. If I was going to tell you, hey, your rent every month is going to go up by just $35.
Yeah.
That's it. Just $35. You don't mind that, right? I mean, it's where you're living. It's your home. It's where you play all these games. Well, that's what a living card game does. You just don't notice it because you're getting a toy in the process.
And then combine with that the insert aspect. These beautiful inserts, I will throw a link. I don't get anything for the link. I just think they're amazing inserts. But they are going to cost you money. And every X number of card sets that Fantasy Flight releases, you're going to need another something to store your cards.
I mean,
because
you started with the base box, and you would have fit everything in the base box for as long as it was reasonably possible.
Oh, I did.
And then...
I then couldn't fit it in the base box anymore.
And so you got one, expansion box.
Well, to be fair,
did you go both at the same time?
I went both at the same time because I realized I had enough that it was just a drop too much, and I could kind of fit, but I had more stuff coming already. I had 2 of these expansions coming.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and get 2. I know I'll need it. I know I'll use it.
So we've thoroughly covered price point, monthly expense,
Yes.
and initial cost with extras. Let's get into just what this does to the game as an experience. You have how many modules, how many potential characters, and how much setup to do to
that's
get it
point 2.
to the table.
Point 2 is the accessibility of the game, because I believe there are 2 ways to tackle Marvel Champions. Well, actually 3 ways. There's 3 ways to tackle your experience in Marvel Champions, and all of them rely on some form of sacrifice inherently. Number 1...
To yourself or to the game?
To yourself.
I'm saying...
To yourself. Oh, yeah, gotcha.
I'm saying, yeah.
Yes. So number 1 is going to be go core box only. Like, go core box, maybe pick 2 expansions,
Sure.
maybe you particularly like Groot, I am Groot, we all are Groot. Pick one or 2 things you like and enjoy, and just go with that. That is option 1.
It'll be a decent experience.
Yeah.
You'll get to know it really well.
Yeah. The good news is you do avoid the first problem of the expense of the game, but you are going to be having that sacrifice of you can't have everything. You're not going to have everything. You'll have a small, limited subset. Sacrifice option number 2 is you get your stuff, you build your decks, and then you figure out your storage system in such a way that when you play this game and you come back after a month and a half of not playing it, you have your decks, but you have to make sure you have a perfect system of where you're tracking your stuff. You have to make sure you have everything labeled, because you will otherwise not remember what you're doing, how you're doing things, and you're walking in with like, okay, great, I can kind of rebuild my character, or I can kind of just use this deck because it's here. Like, it gives you this kind of state where you, unless you're playing the game on a regular, consistent basis, coming back to it 2 months later is going to mean dealing with constructing or deconstructing your decks, and that it's functional. It's not elegant.
Yeah.
And option 3, and for what it's worth, option 3 is currently my preferred method. I learned it from you. You learned it from Dale, the casual gamer.
Did, yeah.
It is my preferred method.
Fantastic Marvel Champions community, by the way.
Yes, and it's my preferred method, but it's still absolutely a sacrifice. Which is option 3. Is everything gets deconstructed every single time.
Separated into its color systems, separated into your character systems, and at the start of every game, spend that additional 15 minutes or so constructing your deck.
Yeah.
It takes away from how accessible and tapeable the game is, but it's the best possible gameplay experience with, again, some sacrifices along the way.
And it takes away from you in 2 ways, and I'll tell you why I still choose that one. It takes away from you, way 1 it takes away is you never really have the option of perfectly iterating upon a deck. You don't have that system of, oh, look, I like this deck, I'm having trouble with this boss, I'm going to swap in 2 or 3 cards. You're always starting from scratch, so like you could kind of remember, but it doesn't have that iteration of a deck.
If you're not playing consistently, you're not really being able to see how you're fine-tuning something.
And then option 2, which is the negative aspect 2, which you touched upon, is you're paying that 15 minutes, and 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, 5 minutes after each game, constructing and deconstructing your decks. The reason I choose it is because the way I play Marvel Champions is I don't play it as often as I'd like. I play a lot of games, and I jump back into this every 2 or 3 months, get 2 or 3 games in, and then put it away again for 2 or 3 months. Yeah. And so for me, it is the better option than trying to remember what else was going on. But again, some form of sacrifice.
And I categorically did not enjoy the deck construction part of this game until, again, Dale the Casual Gamer worked me through a system for how to do that in a reasonable fashion. So if you're someone like me who just doesn't like deck construction because it requires knowledge of so many cards when you're doing it, it can be a daunting thing to approach just in general.
Yeah. Oh, also just choose Doctor Strange. I love Doctor Strange. Anyways, that's number 2. You got number 3?
Number 3. Well, and we could do player count for number 3.
Player count.
This is one of the things we were going to bring up.
Yes, it was. This is a game. You're going to go? I'll go.
I was just emphasizing with hand motions.
Hand motions are great. This is a game where, in my opinion, it is a 1 to 2 player game only. There will be people who have differences of opinions here, and that's fine. There are people who say it's fine with 3. There are people who say it's great with 4. They love playing it, and that's great.
But there are also a lot of wrong people in the world.
Well, that's true, but that's a very aggressive way of putting it. I would say the vast majority of opinions, if you go by Board Game Geek and the poll they have, align with my own in the sense that it is primarily a 1 and 2 player experience.
Yep.
And even 2 player, to a small degree, is a bit of a sacrifice. 2 player is good. I like it with 2. I like the teaming up together. But
if you have the right decks, there's some really nice card play between 2 players.
Yes.
You have to know what you're hunting for, though, and how each player is going to be impacting the game state. I really like it at 2. I honestly liked it at first at solo, and have grown weary of solo because there's other things. There's other puzzles that I'd like to solve more. I'd rather go on an adventure or a narrative journey. However, I do really, really like this game at 2 player.
Yes.
I, however, only really like this game at 2-player.
I like it at 1 and 2 a lot. I happily pull it out for myself at 1. I'll never turn it down at 2, and I'll ask for it at 2. I'll suggest it. But at 3 and 4, I would rather play other games. If you really want to play this,
too cumbersome.
I'll do it, but it's I'm doing it for you, not for me.
Yep.
And I think for such a good and expensive game, understand that player count walking in. If you don't primarily play at 1 or 2 players, I do not think Marvel Champions is a game for you.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to add.
At all.
Just a few hand motions.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, well.
Cool. Number 4. You had a reason you wanted to pick table.
I did. Yeah,
I was 5th. I want to say my 5th.
Okay. I was wondering why you're pausing, because I was like, I know you have more points than I do. My number 4 is going to be just the nature of the system that this is iterating on. Now, this complaint won't count if you like Marvel superheroes more than anything else. However, if you want to go on a narrative adventure, Arkham Horror is going to be a better narrative journey. It's going to be more thematic. It's going to have that Cthulhu-esque, creepy nature to it, where it's psychologically playing with you and taking you on a long-term campaign. I also think it plays better at higher ranges of player counts. Okay. I'd play Arkham Horror with 1, 2, 3, still questionable at 4.
Okay.
So I think it's more generous there, and it tells a better overall adventure.
It does tell a better story. It's more immersive.
Then if you want to be playing in a different world with a complete core game that already has systems and decks that you can buy and a lot of community around it, I know it's retired now, which means you can get it at a more affordable price. Lord of the Rings is going to be a medieval, historic fantasy realm that, for me, runs the same style of systems.
Yeah.
However, I enjoy that environment more equal to what I enjoy in Marvel.
I like Lord of the Rings, but I like Marvel.
I grew up on those fantasy realms.
Yeah.
It's just got a sweet spot. I have a friend.
Saying, I have a very much better than I am Ent.
I have a very, very close friend who owns all of the Lord of the Rings systems, and I'm excited to sit down with him and play through the hardest mission possible. I
would love to play the Lord of the Rings system if somebody else was walking me through the basics.
Sure.
I'm not in a rush to go out and own it. Just primarily because C.1 again.
Yeah.
These systems are an investment. They are an obligation.
You should really only do one.
Yeah. Remember that point about your rent going up $35 a month? Well, if you own 3 systems, your rent's going up by $100 a month.
You should really only do one, and my argument is, don't look at Marvel Champions as the only living card game you could get access to. There's finished ones, there's better ones, there's more thematic ones, there's more story-driven ones.
There's a lot. There's Warhammer, there's Star Wars, there's Arkham Horror, there's the original Call of Cthulhu, there's what else is there? What am I missing here? There's Lord of the Rings, there's Marvel Champions, there's Cthulhu. What is that, 8 so far?
Yeah, at least.
That's 8? I think there's more even.
And this one does some elements of that really decently. I think this might be one of the most averagely solid ones in the bunch. I mean, really, if you want everything mostly, it does it really, really well. But if you want more theme, or you want more depth, or you want more complexity, or you want more head-to-head gameplay, there's other systems that do some of those elements way better. And you should really, again, only do one.
And I'll agree with you to a certain extent. The only 2 systems that I've invested in for the LCGs are going to be this one and the Arkham Horror. The Arkham Horror, I prefer the gameplay of Marvel Champions. Many will disagree, but I prefer the gameplay. I prefer the universe of Marvel Champions, but the story of Arkham Horror was far more immersive. They had creepiness cards. You had a map that you kind of were drawing as you went along the way. It was
flavor text.
Yeah, flavor text, all those things. Now, for what it's worth, I have not played any of the expansions, so take the campaign expansions. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't know what the campaigns add or whether it is...
They're much... They add a little bit more of a narrative progression, but...
I can't imagine it's the same.
They're much... I mean, you can just tell by this. They're much, much smaller when it comes to what they're actually introducing.
But Arkham Horror, apparently.
They have some comics. Arkham Horror has an entire generous system.
Comics.
You're number 5 that you saved for the very end.
Speaking of a lack of thematic immersion, there's 2 ways to play Marvel Champions, and I would argue that the first way involves lying to yourself, which is okay. I'm fine with lying to myself. Here's how you play Marvel Champions Way 1. My Iron Man does 8 damage to Red Skull. Red Skull falls down, and his minions come to collapse, and there's something else that attacks you, and he's attacking you, Scarlet.
That's how I play it.
Yeah, that's how you...
Iron Man slowly absorbing and grabbing pieces of gear onto your tableau in front of you, so you can pop one off and do a rocket boost to the chest of the villain that you're playing against.
Yeah.
That's how I play
That's the lying to yourself version, which I try. I try for because it makes me enjoy the game more. But the other way you play Marvel...
I got this.
Go ahead.
Red sequence to yellow with blue coming in for the save and 17 points of damage. Oh, wait, I forgot to modify it with this card over here. 36 points of damage coming into the thing that needs to have 54 points of damage for it to be taken down. And there's
wait, no, if I discard this card, I can add +2 to every card.
Is that a yellow card? Because that's going to sequence with... that's going to sequence with my blue card over here, which is going to perfectly balance and get rid of all the mayhem, which is a total number of 4.
One second, I'm going to flip my hero to the other side. When I flip it to the other side, I can go ahead and play this card.
The B side or the A side?
The B side.
B-side, perfect.
Excellent. And now with that, we're going to go ahead and modify any equipment you use this turn with a +2 factor.
All my equipment is going to be the red cards down here. Perfect.
If you take out a henchman this turn, I'll get an extra 1 point of damage I can do to the villain.
Add that 1 point of damage to the 7 points of damage I'm doing to your villain right in front of you, and I think we've just won.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the other way you play Marvel
Colors
Champions.
and numbers.
Colors and numbers. I love this game, to be clear. I love the puzzle, to be clear. But it is absolutely... This is why it's not a good 3 and 4 player game, because... A 3 and 4 player is just watching while others one goes +4, +4, +2, -1. Okay, great. Oh wait, no, that person's gonna do 2. That's gonna do 2 to me. Okay, great. Let me see. I can still survive that with this 4. It's just numbers and colors in this game. I love it. It's a puzzle, but it is numbers and colors. This is a game about math.
Yeah,
it's a great game about math, but it's a game about math. Teach it to your children. They love superheroes. But if that doesn't sound fun to you, to be fair, it sounded fun to me.
I mean, honestly, I was enjoying the process.
I know. And there's a reason. I said this is a good game for me. I said this is one of my favorite games. But this is reasons why you should not be playing Marvel Champions.
And there's fair reasons why you really shouldn't.
Yeah.
Alex, something that you're going to enjoy, that I've been doing at the end of all of these, has been giving the audience a little bit of redemption. If they've made it to this part and they're still intrigued and convinced, because I know watching some of my favorite videos, I'll watch a fully negative critique and still get to the end and think to myself, yeah, but I want it. Yeah, but I really want it. So, Alex...
Yeah.
Starting on the count of 3, you're going to have 60 seconds to tell people why they 100%, without a doubt, should be playing this game.
Oh, that's delightful. Marvel Champions, where's my 60 seconds?
Yeah, let me... 1, 2, here's the thing. I do a clean cut if you run over. 3.
Marvel Champions is a game that is going to be bringing you classic heroes and characters that you know from this world. If you don't like this world, I don't think this is a game for you. I think there are better in other games. But if you like the idea of being Iron Man, if you like the idea of Iron Man teaming up with Groot against Red Skull across the progression of games, if you like the challenge, the sequencing of having a hand of cards in every single turn, you want to play every single one of those cards because they're all fun. This one will let you draw extra cards every turn. This one will build up your equipment. You'll be able to fly faster, shoot harder, do an extra +2, -3, +4 modifier in the game. Now you want to play every single one of those cards, but every single one of those cards is a challenge, it is a puzzle, it's something you have to choose, and each card involves sacrificing other cards to get there. So every turn is a hard choice, a hard decision of which cards will you play, which cards will you not, what will you be able to do. Along the way, you're potentially teaming up with other players, or engaging solo, and there's a ton of content, there's so much variety in this puzzle, in this aspect of trying to go through the delicious puzzle that is Marvel Champions as you slowly but surely try to play and figure out how to win at this game.
You think you're within the 60 seconds, or...?
I was watching the clock.
A little over. Were you?
Yeah.
Are you within it?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Dead on.
Well, then we have time to...
No, it's over. The video's over. It's a clean cut.
Tell them to have a good day.
Oh, you said it's a clean cut.
See you next time.
We're 10 seconds over.
Bye.